and regulation modern and updated. We want to make sure the marketplace works so that your dreams can be fulfilled. And if you are one of those few that has a dream that changes marketplaces and creates jobs, then the rest of us benefit. Your success does not make us poorer. The success of Americans with dreams that accomplish their dreams make us all better off. That's the great nature of this country. And I and my party are also devoted to making sure that we don't pass on to you trillions upon trillions of dollars of debt. We have in the Democratic Party people who are consumed with giving more and more benefits to me and my generation and passing on those burdens to you. Every $1 trillion this president amasses every year, guess who's going to pay that? Not me. I'm gone. I'm too old to pay it back. You're going to pay it back. You not only have college loans to pay back, you have loans to my generation to pay back. And your prospects for finding a business that grows and thrives, burdened with all those taxes to pay back my debts, my generation's debts, those chances get slimmer and slimmer. My party, my vision is about protecting economic freedom for you. I've had it for me. I've had economic freedom. I've achieved beyond my wildest dreams. I want economic freedom for you. I want people in America to have a bright and prosperous future. My kids, my grandkids, people across this great land. I love America. I believe that the principles, you love it too. Good, all right, yeah. What we have is so unique. What this nation has, I hope there's nowhere else on the planet where people with dreams are admired and respected, where success is celebrated, where dreamers are able to accomplish great things like they can do here in this extraordinary country. It's so fragile. We can't let government, misguided politicians that have never worked in the private sector, change what America is. I said I love the country. I love the founding principles of the country. In that wonderful song, America the Beautiful, the author writes, "Oh, beautiful for patriot dream that sees beyond the years." The patriots, when they wrote the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, were not just writing for their times. They made a choice which has shaped America. They said that the Creator endowed us with our rights, not government, but the Creator, and among them, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That is one thing which makes us so unique. For hundreds of years, people have come here because of those freedoms, the freedom to pursue our course. It's what makes us who we are. You wonder why our income per capita in America is twice that of Europe. It's because of economic freedom, political freedom, religious freedom. These freedoms make us who we are and make us economically successful and prosperous. I love this great land. If I'm the next president of the United States, I'm not going to do what this president has called for, which is transforming America. I'm going to reclaim in America and restore to America the principles that made us the hope of the earth. Now let me turn to you here. Let me turn to you and see if you've got a question or two that I can respond to. Yes, ma'am. Here's a microphone. Watch this.
So you're all for like yay freedom and all this stuff and yay like pursuit of happiness. You know what would make me happy? Free birth control.
You know, let me tell you. Let me tell you something. If you're looking for free stuff, you don't have to pay for, vote for the other guy. That's what he's all about, okay? That's not what I'm about. You have the choice in this country of doing something which politicians have been promoting for years. Politicians get up and promise you all sorts of free stuff, all right, and say, I'm going to give you more and more stuff, and you won't have to pay for it. And you know what? We get elected that way in many cases. Politicians do. That's not something I subscribe to. My own view is that we have to tell people the truth, And we're going to have to demand sacrifice of the American people. The idea of borrowing $1 trillion more than we take in is not just bad economics, it's immoral. I'm not going to do it, and I'm not going to promise what can't be delivered. Hi.
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 Well, I'm really not talking about birth control when I ask you this question, but you've made it very clear that you're not in support of Planned Parenthood. But I'm just wondering where you would suggest that the millions of women who receive their health services, such as mammograms and HPV vaccines, go.
Well, they can go wherever they'd like to go. This is a free society. But here's what I say, which is the federal government should not tax these people to pay for Planned Parenthood. There are a lot of things, by the way. There are a lot of things that we have in our society that we may like or that we may not like, but that government shouldn't be paying for. We have to ask this. We're going to have to cut federal spending by $1 trillion, $1,000 billion. All right? We'll have to make cuts, and we're going to have to get growth of the economy. The two will close that gap of about $1 trillion. And I'm going to cut from our federal spending some things you like and some things you're happy to get rid of. Easy things I'm going to cut, Obamacare. I'm getting rid of that, all right? And I will, and the idea of the federal government funding Planned Parenthood, I'm going to say no, we're going to stop that. I'm going to stop things. By the way, I like PBS. All right, I like PBS. I listen to public broadcasting. I watch my grandkids watch Bert and Ernie and Big Bird, but we borrow money from China so that our kids don't have to watch advertisements on PBS. And my view is Big Bird's going to have to get used to Kellogg cornflakes. All right, we're gonna because I'm not willing to borrow money. I'm not willing to borrow money and pass it on to you so that our kids don't have to watch advertisement. We have something called the National Endowment for the Arts, the National Endowment for the Humanities, Amtrak. Look, these are things I respect and appreciate, but I'm not. These are places we're going to have to make some sacrifices in cutting back on things we don't absolutely have to have, and I'm going to do that. All right, there's right here in the front row, right there, right in the front row. We got a young lady there too, right there.
Well, with my daughter, she goes to public school. I'm on a local school board. Education, public school, we're constantly having to cut. What can you do to try to help education in America?
Great. Let me tell you a bit about my thoughts about education, and then talk about what you do as a president. And I appreciate that question because this is the ultimate question, which is the people coming up into America, the new citizens, and will they be prosperous and will they be capable of building a strong and great nation into the future. And our schools, as you know, our kids coming out of school are falling behind. They're falling behind our competitors around the world, whether it's in China or Singapore or South Korea or Finland. And there's been effort to go around the world and try and look and see what it is that drives successful education. In my state, I became elected governor, and I asked some educators, what can we do to improve our schools? And they said, get smaller classroom sizes. That made sense to me. And then I said, let's look at the data. We have 351 cities and towns in my state. And every year we test our kids and see how well they're doing. And so I could take the average student score for each city and town and compare that with the average classroom size of each city and town. And there was no relationship at all. As a matter of fact, the school district with the smallest classroom sizes scored in the bottom 10% of student performance was Cambridge, Massachusetts. So then I began reading. There's a study done by McKinsey Institute, an international consulting and not-for-profit organization as well. And they looked at school districts around the world. They said classroom size doesn't correlate with the achievement of students. What did was this: the educational attainment and quality of the teachers. And they said in the best schools in America, excuse me, in the world, they hired the best teachers from the very top students. And they said, in Finland, for instance, the top 5 teachers are drawn from the top 5 to 10% of college graduates. And why do they take those jobs? Because they have high starting salaries for teachers. And they have career paths for teachers that are not just linked with tenure. We got to get the teachers' unions out of the way so we can put our teachers and the kids first. And that's one thing I do. Thank you. Yes, sir. Then I'll bring you a microphone here. Hi.
Thank you very much. Good evening to you. Considering our mounting national and personal student debt crisis, how do you plan to address our concerns as president?
The best thing I can do for student debt is get you a good job when you come out, all right? And so that's, and by the way, get ready for President Obama's claim. I know he's going to come up at some point and talk about how he's going to make it vanish. And that's another, here, I'll give you something for free. And I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is make sure we find ways to get tuition more competitive, allow universities and colleges to compete and have people look around for ways to get a better deal. And number two, I'm going to make sure that when you come out of college, you can get a good job and that it meets with your skills so that debt can be paid back. Now, I want to get the interest rate as low as it possibly can be, and for that to happen, we got to make sure people are able to pay them back. We don't have bad debts. But again, if you're looking for free stuff, I'm not your guy. But I am going to make sure that we get this economy going so we can pay back loans and people can get back on their feet. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Governor, I've been a realtor in this community for 30 years. I'd like to know what your thoughts are on what can be done to help turn the housing market around.
Yeah, the housing market has been a real challenge here. It's interesting, I mentioned Puerto Rico. You know what they did in Puerto Rico? I know that this isn't necessarily the answer for Peoria, but they said if you buy a new home in Puerto Rico, you pay no real estate tax for 5 years. A 5-year real estate tax holiday. Now, that wouldn't make the city fathers and mothers of Peoria happy because they need that revenue. But they said they're getting rid of real estate tax for 5 years, and home sales have gone up 50% in 1 year. People respond to incentives, and so looking at incentives community by community to match the needs of that community may make sense. I'm not suggesting that you do that particular one, but incentives of various kinds can make a difference. Number two, the best thing I can do for home values is to get the 8% of people, 8.3% of people in this country that are out of work back to work, and to have rising incomes again. Instead of median income dropping 10%, I get it to go up again. If people have jobs, and if there's high demand for jobs and they move from place to place, they need to buy homes. And let me tell you, this issue of jobs is it's complex. I mean, Caterpillar is a huge employer in this area, terrific enterprise. It's about to face competition from China, unlike perhaps anything it's known before. It was successful against Japan. Now China's coming along. It's going to be tough. And one thing I'm going to do to make sure we create jobs here is make sure that if there's a nation like China that cheats on fair trade, that we stop them. We're not going to let them keep on stealing jobs with unfair trade practices. Not going to let them steal our designs and our patents and our technology, manipulate their currency. So my effort to create jobs includes tax policy, regulatory policy, energy policy, getting more energy here domestically. It includes also dealing with opening markets for American goods and cracking down on those that cheat. And so I'm going to put people to work and make sure they're able to start buying houses again. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Hi. She is waving her hand with reckless abandon. Hi.
Hi. I'm a mental health provider, and I want to know what are your outlook on health services?
My outlook on health services, there are a number of things, as you know, I would like to have back at the state level. And so there's some things I'm not going to do at the federal level, in part because, well, we go back to the wisdom of the founders. I spoke with a judge on the circuit court, the Ninth Circuit Court. He happened to be conservative. There are not a lot of them on the Ninth Circuit Court. But he happened to say to me, he said, you know, Mitt, when the founders chose the term state, it was a decision made not lightly. They didn't call us departments or provinces or divisions. They called these states. The nation was a collection of these states. But their view was, and Justice Brandeis points that out later, that the states would become the laboratories of democracy. There are differences between populations in different states. And so there are some features and some programs I think are best run at the state level. And so programs for the poor, for instance. It's different being poor in Montana, perhaps, than poor in Mississippi or Massachusetts or Michigan or Minnesota. And so in my view, programs for the poor like Medicaid and housing vouchers, food stamps, would be better run at the state level than having the federal government telling everybody how to do it. And if you do it that way, you can also keep the cost down. So as I deal with mental health, I don't want as the president to step in and say, okay, here's how everybody has to deal with mental health. I'd like to let states try different ideas, different models, and I'm happy to support that. So, for instance, the Medicaid dollars,